Welcome, Jos, to this interview. So we're going to talk about Buurtzorg. I have some questions for you, and I have collected some questions for you as well. Just before we get started, some words about you and Buurtzorg. So, if I understood well, you were graduated in economics before you became a nurse.
I was not graduated. I quit my study economics.
You studied economics, and
Yeah.
then you became a nurse,
Yeah.
and you started working in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then you became a district nurse, and I think you enjoyed that period when you really took care of patients.
Yeah.
You had a large variety of tasks.
Yeah.
Then in 1993, politicians in Holland decided that nurses should be more professionalized, which means division of work, specialization of tasks, standardizations of services, and managers to coordinate and control what nurses were doing.
Yeah.
So nurses should be part of large organizations that focus on delivering products instead of taking care of patients.
Mm-hmm.
And from the patient perspective, you have sometimes dozens of people coming to your home every month, and each time you should explain them your situation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you work in healthcare, it's a little like working in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of management layers above you, and support functions to control you as well. And the consequence was the decrease in the quality and of the services, and the cost doubled in 10 years. That's it?
Yeah.
And the more manager focused on performance, the more performance went down. So in 2006, you decided to start something new with 3 other nurses.
Yeah.
And this is Buurtzorg.
Mm-hmm.
So it's based on trust and self-organizations rather than the controlling stuff and management stuff.
Yeah.
You were 4 at that time, and today you are 14,000.
14,000.
14,000. So all over the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
So it represents something like 67% of market shares. So basically, you have no management, no meetings, and
only meetings which the nurses think are useful.
Yes.
For the nurses.
So
they have to share their knowledge and their experience, and they have to coordinate their work. So they have meetings once in a while, but it's focused on sharing the experiences with their patients.
Not telling people what they should do, not controlling them.
No leaders, no managers.
No leaders, no managers. And some coaches. Maybe you talk about that later.
Yeah.
So Buurtzorg is a non-for-profit organization.
Yeah.
And everyone now is asking you for advices. So including your competitors, including governments.
Yeah.
I mean, the Netherlands, of course, but also other governments outside. So, for example, you were in France a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start maybe from this, and see. Let's start by talking about the employees and nurses. Maybe you can go through the questions quite quickly because we have a lot of questions. What do you tell people who are about to join Buurtzorg?
Usually we ask them how they perceive their work, their profession. So do they have the right vision? Do they think they should be the owner of their own work? And do they like to work together with colleagues who have the same vision? Are they Are they really skilled nurses? It's very important that they are also good nurses. But I don't ask that, but the nurses who hire their colleagues ask these kind of things. And usually I meet these new nurses when they come to work for Buurtzorg. I have vision meetings, I call it, once in a while. And then I talk with 50, 60 new nurses about, do we share the same values? Do we share the same vision? What is it? How does it work in practice? How do they think about self-organization? And what kind of struggles do they have with it? And so I try to connect every time again with the new nurses and find out if I see differences in time. And for example, with the motivation of people. First years we had very motivated nurses, and now there are also nurses who just want a good job. So they just, and now we are the best employer of Holland. So they say, okay, that's a nice place to work for. So then they need some more time to integrate in the teams and to also to understand the vision, the way of working. But that in time it grows, and that's good.
Do you have a lot of turnover?
At the moment, in 2017, we had 400 million euros.
Oh yes, okay, but I was thinking of
turnover.
The nurse turnover.
Nurses.
Yes.
At the moment, there are quite some nurses leaving because of age. So we had a lot of nurses who started to work, and that was very special because they worked for 30 years sometimes at another place, and they started to work for Buurtzorg, but now they are retiring. So we have a lot of retirements. But most of the nurses who are staying, they also mentioned it in the research, that they want to stay for a long time. So they say, we are happy with this workplace. Sometimes for young people, it's they want to have several experiences. So they work a while and then work somewhere else and sometimes come back. So we see with young people that they sometimes don't stay as long as the elder nurses. So for the elder nurses, they have a very strong view on this is the place I want to stay. But younger people are more open to different experiences, and that's good, I think.
Okay, great. In every organization that I've seen, people, some people more than others, want to expand their own power. And I expect that in Buurtzorg it's not very different. So what do you do about people who try to expand and protect their own power within the organization?
In the teams, so if you talk about the organization, you talk about all these 1,000 teams we have. So there is always a kind of a dynamic. There are people in teams who are more a bit more dominant, more innovative, or they're taking the lead in some subjects. And as long as the others accept and it's an open discussion there, it's not a problem. I think that you should accept that there are different personalities in a team, and that's good. It makes a team stable. If you have 10 innovators in a team, then it will be a very chaotic team, I think. So it's important that you accept each other's qualities or each other's characters. But most important is that you discuss it, so that there's an open culture in a team, and then you just can't say to your colleague, "Oh, you are so dominant with this, and this is not helping our team." So I always say, if you feel at the end of a meeting that you don't have the right feeling about how things are working, that somebody has too much power, start talking about it. It's the only way you can change it. Put it on the table, talk about it. And that's what on every place we do. We say there are no taboos. So just if you can feel it in your stomach, if you're not happy with what's happening, then you say, okay, this is what I feel. But are there others in the team who also feel the same? And what can we do about it? That's always, don't make it too complicated. So if you start with all kind of complicated communications, then you get further and further away from the solution, I think.
Sure. I have a question from Yolande, who is based in Paris here. What's the biggest issue in keeping Buurtzorg long-lasting?
I think it's keeping things simple. I think that's all the time. There are a lot of outside in the healthcare system. I think healthcare systems in particular wants to make things very complicated. So the payment system, regulations, protocols, and so on. So we try to avoid, and we are participating in discussions nationally how these regulations should develop. So, and then they listen to us. So that's a good thing. And on the inside, so it's my most important role is that try to avoid that there are all kind of policies. Try to focus on continuity. So not usually the word innovation and change, they're very popular in organizations. And I say it's also a risk. If you change too much, you should keep things which are going well as a basic thing. So these patterns and how to deliver good community healthcare, they don't really change in time. So they are stable patterns, and we should focus on this routine. And then you can say, okay, we have new knowledge, new experiences. So we integrate the new knowledge and new experiences in the existing patterns, and it should be done in an organic and in a simple way. So simplicity, simplifying things, keeping the difficulties from the outside world outside. I think that's the most important thing.
There is a question about Buurtzorg as a model as well. The question is from Marcus Berg. He's from Stockholm in Sweden. What other system could benefit from your methods?
I think all kind of industries. We are working now a lot with schools. So in schools you see the same problems with teachers and students. And the environment of schools, too many regulations. It's if you focus on the primary process, if you say, okay, this is our service, and the people who are delivering the service are the most experienced people to understand what's the best way to do it. This can be translated to police force, education, but even banks. So I've been with a lot of banks in Holland. Even with a Russian bank, we got visited by the biggest Russian bank. So I don't think there is. It's not a model for healthcare or for community nursing. It's a way of it's a mindset, and it's a paradigm based on human and humanized way of looking at things. So I think it's. The principles behind it, as Frederic Laloux writes in his book Reinventing Organization, they are general. So they can, and the fact that we are working with 30 countries in Asia, in India, in Europe, and that, and every place, people perceive the principles as logic and as positive. I think that means that they are universal. I think.
Another question from Richard Bartlett. He's from New Zealand. He's co-founder of Lumio. I don't know if you've heard of Lumio. It's a software that you can use for self-management. Yeah. what's the Buurtzorg approach to talking about tension, challenge, uncertainty, incompleteness, instability? What is there a Buurtzorg approach to that?
Not really. I think it's just, you know, I'm a nurse, as you know, and nurses are very good in talking about everything. So, especially when it's about tensions and about relationships and communication. So my idea is that you should always create a culture where it's normal to talk about these things, not in an emotional way. So try to avoid that you get angry. So try to focus, and perhaps I think that's part of the approach, is have this solution-driven interaction method. So we said, focus on the solution. So you can analyze. If you have a conflict or you have a problem, you can analyze a lot, but that doesn't really help. We put too much effort in analyzing problems. Mm-hmm. If you put a focus on what kind of solutions do we have, then you get another energy. So you ask people around the table, okay, this is what we see, this is the problem. Okay, what can we do to solve it? And do you have an idea, or are there other ideas? What's the best option, and how can we work towards a solution? So that's always, I think, the most important thing is solution-driven way of looking at things.
We're running out of time, but we still have a lot of questions. One from François Beauregard, he's from Montreal in Canada. Why do you continue today?
Why do I, as a person?
You as a person, yes.
Oh, I think because I like it. I have a connection with a lot of people within the organization, and they are still happy to see me. So there is a mutual connection. No, it's very enjoyable, and we have a lot of friends and people who went through this adventure. So we saw it as an adventure together. So it's and I think what's important is to stay connected with the daily work and to participate in national policies. If these things are split, then that's one of the problems, I think, is that too many policies in ministries and other places are developed not with not enough connection with the daily practice. So what I say is, okay, the daily practice, I think that should be the starting point. The daily practice is important. What happens with patients, their daily lives, what can you expect from healthcare if you have cancer, if you go through a very difficult time? That's what we should care about. And then the policies should listen to what happens in daily practice. So what I'm doing is talking with the ministry, and I say this is happening in daily life. So we should develop regulations that supports professional work and not create all kinds of obstacles. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's fun to on the one hand see the practice, on the other hand participate in policy making and so on, and discussions. So I have a very big variety of all kinds of different things, and that's nice.
Maybe one last question from Ria Beck. She's from Belgium, and mm-hmm. she's involved with the Heart of Hosting. What is the most difficult in your job? I think you had some hard problem last year, no?
Yes. I had some physical problems, so I had a heart attack, but that's going well now, so no physical problems anymore. No, I think that sometimes people there are a lot of people who don't believe that the motives why I'm doing this are based on more idealistic ideas. So that people always think there's something behind. So So, for example, in the news and the newspaper, I have several companies, and because of the internationalization, so we are working with a lot of different companies. Oh, and we have a foundation, not for profit in Holland, but we also have some other companies. And I think, how does it go? Is he using money for this, for that, and is he doing that? So it's all kind of assumptions based on a negative worldview, I think. So that usually I don't mind so much, but when there are too many people asking questions and doing things and giving pressure on, that's not the nicest part. So that gives some stress. Just doing what's needed to keep the organization running is fantastic. So that's nice. That gives energy.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jos. And I don't ask questions anymore, so no more stress for you.
No, it was a very nice conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, have a good day.
Have a nice
day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.